Hi there, how are you? Welcome back to Breakfast All Day. Guess who's here?
Me.
It's Ben. Guess who's coming to breakfast? It's Ben. We've not all been together in the same room at the same time.
No.
For quite a while.
In a couple of months.
Yeah, that's
Hi.
right. Hello, how are you?
Good to see you.
You as well.
We are all...
And even you.
Oh, thank you.
We are all with the very flattering lighting
Here I
here.
was going to fix your mic, but...
It's good to see you.
It's good to be here. I'm sorry that I was late. I'm shooting very important stuff for very important television productions that no one will ever see.
Sounds about right.
You're a pro. You are a pro. We can do that. So we talked about Ms. Bala. We're going to talk about Velvet Buzzsaw next, which premiered at Sundance, just this past weekend, right? Just a few days ago. And now
if you're watching this 6 months from now, then it's like 6 months ago.
It's been out, but it's new to us, so it's new to you, and it is now on Netflix as of today.
Yes.
And who wants the fun of describing Velvet
I'll
Buzzsaw?
tackle
You
it.
want-
So this is the latest from Dan Gilroy?
Dan Gilroy.
Dan Gilroy, who did Nightcrawler, reuniting Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo. This one is set in the LA contemporary art scene, and Gyllenhaal is a very influential critic, which Dave White was already like, yeah, they don't have those. And Rene Russo is a veteran gallery owner, and one of her employees has an old neighbor who dies, and in his apartment she discovers this treasure trove of amazing art that he wanted to have destroyed, but she decides instead to start putting into circulation, and everybody starts going crazy for this guy's stuff that is dark and disturbing. But then it turns out that it might be haunted.
Question mark.
So, I literally left Dave watching this when I left the house, and this week on Linoleum Knife we'll talk about the art side of it, because he actually goes to galleries and knows that world more than I do.
What did he think of the art, the Vitral D's art?
He hadn't gotten there yet when I left, so we'll see.
Okay.
I thought that was an interesting choice because, I think recently we talked about, I've heard the mermaid singing, I can't remember, was it here or my other show? Too many podcasts. Anyway, in that movie, there's art that everybody goes crazy for, and what the director does is just shows you light in a picture frame, so that we have to sort of fill in the blanks for ourselves. This movie has to actually show you this guy's paintings.
Hundreds of them.
Yes, like lots and lots of them, and how people respond to them, which can be terrible. Like in all the Hallmark Christmas movies I just watched, every time somebody's like, "Oh, you're such a talented photographer," it's like, no, you're not. But whoever they did to do the Vetral Dees art was really great.
The same guy that did Vigo from Ghostbusters 2.
Really?
No.
Just checking. I don't know. Anyway, I think this is probably more interesting as a horror movie set in the art world than it is a movie that has anything to say about the art world disguised as a horror movie. I'm not sure. What y'all think?
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I think it has something to say about the art world, just in sort of the fun skewering of the art world, and the self-satisfaction and self-importance of the art world. So, I'm not sure it has anything to say beyond that. I was, by the way, what you mentioned, I think I want to echo. The art was so good for, I was sure, I'm like, oh, these are going to suck. Right?
And that's the joke, right? The joke is that they're terrible, but everyone goes nuts for them.
No, I just thought that sort of...
in that movie way where it's
mimicking something that is so rare that when a true talent is discovered in it, they're generally universally hailed for that talent, and then sort of being like, we're just going to hire some guy to do it, and it will be believable that it would be hailed. I think they had a high threshold there, and I think that on that they met it.
And also that sphere piece looked very cool and very much like the kind of thing you would see in a gallery.
Right. A lot of the more experimental, interactive stuff.
Hobo Man. The robot.
Yes.
Hobo
A lot
Man.
of that feels like definitely skewering the extreme insanity of a lot of modern art now, just the gimmickry of it. This does not really have a whole lot to say about the commercial nature of art. I mean, and the vapidity of this world. A word that you like, Ben, vapidity.
I think it had something to say about it.
But is that new though? I don't know that it's saying with tremendous style. I dug this movie. It's nutty and it's fun and it's sexy and it's slick and it looks beautiful. Robert Elswit shot it. Paul Thomas Anderson's cinematographer, Robert Elswit, and who also shot Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Dan Gilroy is Rene Russo's husband, by the way.
Okay. Well, I'm glad.
There you go.
I'm glad that he is a Rene Russo delivery system because
She's amazing
I would
in
like to
this.
see more of her in movies, and she's always great in his. And this is a movie where L.A. looks a lot different than he made it look in Nightcrawler.
Well, yeah, it looks more of like a gritty, grimy kind of low-key LA. No, I dug it, but I don't know that it's saying anything of any tremendous novelty or profundity.
I have an objection.
Okay, please.
Certainly not to you.
Please object.
But I don't think
This whole corner.
I mean, why do movies have to say something new? Can't they just say something well?
And it does.
Yeah.
That would be great if this movie said something well.
You don't think it does?
I was underwhelmed. I felt like at the beginning, like, okay, this is going to be pret-a-porter, right? Like it's which is a much better movie about skewering a particular type of art world, right? It's the Robert
fashion,
Altman
yeah.
fashion, and the joke in there is revealed at the end. But this one, it's trying to balance it. Like it's definitely skewering these people that are despicable in a lot of cases, and then tilts into what I thought was not a particularly effective horror exercise. And I guess I was frustrated because I loved Nightcrawler. I thought Nightcrawler was both this amazing black comedy and yet really had a lot of dread to it. And this one doesn't meld any of that. Like I felt like the comedy it's going for was too broad, and the dread, as much as I thought the paintings were interesting, it never really quite grabbed me, and I felt like this movie's kind of neither fish nor fowl.
I mean, it also kind of calls to mind Nocturnal Animals, which is another Jake
love
Gyllenhaal
that.
movie about contemporary art, among other things. And yeah, I think that movie was maybe a little more effective at making its points about art and commerce and whatnot, and then also kind of being creepy and unsettling.
I love Nocturnal Animals, but they both have like a similar kind of chic slickness that's also
definitely,
really
yes.
menacing at the same time. The cast is amazing. Besides Rene Russo and Jake Gyllenhaal, Toni Collette is great as she's a curator,
She goes from being a museum curator to a consultant to like a big ticket,
a personal buyer,
She
or
sort of
whatever.
buys art for fancy people.
Yeah. I also want to mention Zoe Ashton, who
Yes.
is the assistant at the gallery, at Rene Russo's
the
gallery,
one who
right?
finds the art, Josephina.
Yes, and-
She finds the dead guy's art.
Right, and she's like beautiful and just selfish and self-centered, and like you can't stop watching her. She's so exciting to watch.
Daveed Diggs is really good.
Yeah.
John Malkovich.
Yeah.
There's Tom Sturridge as a rival
Like Billy
gallerist.
Magnuson is kind of fun.
Yeah, Billy Magnuson, always fun to watch. I mean, there's a lot that I like about this movie. Like I said, I don't know that I'm going to remember what it has to say about anything, but I liked looking at it, and I thought some of the creepier moments, were fairly effective.
I don't know. I hear you. I don't care about movies that their sole purpose, not their sole purpose, is what I take away from a movie is not what it had to say.
Well,
And
but,
I'm not.
but if you're going to put this, if you're going to set it in this world, and you clearly have a point of view about this world, then like Nightcrawler, he has a point of view and he is saying stuff, and that's part of what makes that movie so effective.
Sure. I thought it said something about. I mean, first of all, just the names of the characters said something. So aside from Toni Collette, who plays Gretchen, and I guess Zoe Ashton, who plays Josephina, the other names are Morph, as Alonzo said. That's Jake Gyllenhaal's name. Rene Russo is Rodora.
Yes.
John Don.
John Don. Coco, Damrish, Bryson.
That she calls her Rococo.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
It's just
And that's Natalia Dyer, who is Nancy on Stranger Things.
Right, and she, I think.
I didn't recognize her. Okay.
Yeah,
She's so cute.
And she's
I didn't recognize her trying to pass herself off as Zoe Deschanel in this movie.
And
With
like
big
and-
glasses and bangs.
Jake Gyllenhaal is good, but like he does that thing, and obviously he has brilliantly played a gay character before, although a very different kind of one. He does that thing that straight actors do sometimes, which is sort of like when non-Italians play Italians, which is too much hand.
Oh, like he's too effeminate?
Not too, but like you can. It doesn't feel organic to the character. It just feels like, oh, this guy's a gesture now,
Right, this is it, right.
And it just sort of like, we don't all do that all the time.
But I feel like everyone in this is giving a showy performance. Like it's all kind of arch and it's all kind of extreme and up there. And his is just like one example of it. Plus he's bi, right? Isn't he bi?
He is, yes. I guess like look, Toni Collette just made the bangs do all the work. He could have done the same thing.
I felt like they were like different characters from different movies in like kind of stuck together, right? Like Morph and the Toni Collette character, like Gyllenhaal, Collette, and the guy playing Ron John are from like one movie, right? One really goofy movie. And then everybody else is from a movie that's like a little bit less crazy. And then they all get stuck with this kind of horror story that kind of like doesn't fit with what's going on with them at all. Like the moment where you get into the history of D's and what's going on, I just started laughing. I'm like, of course.
It is kind of a Freddy Krueger backstory.
I mean, it's like, oh, this is how a supervillain gets created. Like, I almost expected, you almost wanted to see Shyamalan walk in.
This is a very posh slasher in a way.
I thought we're set up to the most accomplished artist in the picture is John Malkovich's character, and then he becomes by far the most grounded, normal person in the movie.
True.
Well, oh, okay. I'm not going to say anything, but there's a reason why certain people get it and certain people don't. Not everyone gets it. Gets it. Dies.
Yes,
Right. There's a reason. There's a reason. When you look back on who does and why, it's not random. Is my point.
Right. Well,
Okay.
which would
So it's
suggest,
basically Bird Box.
but it has. That suggests that it has a little something to say. I just think we've left out the most operative word in describing this movie, which is that it's fun.
Silly.
It's fun.
It is.
It's
It
fun.
is fun.
Yeah.
I laughed a lot. Jake Gyllenhaal, for all his over-the-top, effeminate ways, has the best one-liners. They're so mean. Everything he has to say is so... Everyone is so mean in this. Renee Russo is, too. So is Toni Collette. And Zoe Ashton is.
They're not just mean. They're cruel and vindictive and selfish to the destruction of others. You know,
True.
but seemingly without any thought to it. Like this is
As a matter of course,
Like
yeah.
they are cruel and mean as easily as they get each other coffee.
It's like
Well,
walking
and-
down the street, right?
right.
And yeah, the ways in which they phrase their cruelty is like so specific
Well, and
and so
Gyllenhaal's-
heightened. It's like the way you wish you could think of the mean zingers when
Right.
you
And
can't come up with
Gyllenhaal has his defense for that. He's like, well, it's truth. I'm not gonna whisper the truth.
Right in the beginning, we learned that because Natalia Dyer calls Zoe Ashton right at the beginning of the movie to tell her that she saw her boyfriend with another girl the night before. I'm not spoiling anything. This is the first minutes of the movie, but right away it's like, oh, no kind, thoughtful person would deliver this at 9:22 in the morning on the phone to someone at work. Like it's not afterthought. Hey, I ran into your mom last night at dinner. She loves you, right? It's like you're dealing, and so you sense that they love knocking each other down.
No, there's a great running gag where there's a guy at the Contemporary Art Museum where Toni Collette works at the beginning of the film who will say hello to Jake Gyllenhaal, and Jake Gyllenhaal will just ignore him and be like, oh, okay, fine, it's like that
right,
then.
right.
And like it's never explained, and we don't know why.
And you know what that guy's name is? If you remember, because again, it's like his name isn't even enough. His name is Jim. Right?
Oh, well, he can't.
not
Morph,
interesting enough to
Morph
remember.
cannot be talking to Jim.
No. I mean, I dug it. I'm giving it an 8. It's really fun.
I give it a 7.8. It's fun to look at. It is entertaining, and if you don't think of it as a documentary about contemporary art, you're better off.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. The funny thing is that I'm giving it a lesser score than you, but it sounds like I liked it more. I'm giving it a 7.5. I think it's certainly worth seeing.
I was underwhelmed. Give it a 6.
Okay, our number is a 7.6. It is at 70% on the tomato meter. I can imagine this is going to be like a love it or hate it kind of thing. This is not necessarily for everybody because it's swinging for the fences, as you would say, Matt.
At one moment watching this movie with my wife, when some strange things start to happen, she says, oh, wait, is it going to be this kind of movie? And I said, Jake Gyllenhaal and Renee Russo wouldn't be in this kind of movie.
Turns
and she
out
goes,
they
oh, good point. But no, it turns out, yes, they would.
Turns out it would if it was her husband and Gyllenhaal's good pal.
Right.
Sure.
All right, so hey, for those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, do all that stuff. Tell people that this is where What the Flick lives now, and you can follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also, of course, listen to this as a podcast with better audio, dare one might say. The mics are here for a reason on Spotify and Google Play and Stitcher and all those places. So check that out. Thanks for watching. We'll be back later.
Bye.